What is happening, everybody? My name is Beth, and welcome back to Every Day is Spooktober. Now, today's video I have been waiting to film for a very long time. As you guys know, and if you've been following, this is my Insidious 5, Insidious the Red Door movie review. I watched it in the cinema when it came out on July 7th on Friday. I went to the first showing that there was, and it was kind of quiet. I mean, it was a Friday, whatever. But yeah, I watched the film on Friday, and all I've got to say is it just wasn't the film that I was expecting to get at all. So I have a lot to talk about in this video. There's a lot to discuss and just kind of dive deep into. And yeah, let's just get straight into this video, guys. Obviously, recap, Insidious, the first Insidious, is my favorite horror film of all time. I think this franchise is very special, unique, and great in its own way. I love, like I said, have so much love for the original Insidious, and I think the sequel, the second one, is great as well. I think the third Insidious is a decent story following different people, and I like how we go back in time and still have characters coming back, like Elise and Specs and all that. And then Insidious for the Last Key was not great. It's the weakest of the franchise. And I think Insidious 5 is weaker than the Last Key. I am utterly disappointed and I'm just angry. I think that's just how I'm feeling about Insidious after coming out and watching it. I'm genuinely just angry with what they've done with this film. And I'm not throwing any shade to anyone that was involved, because obviously I know there was a lot of hard work put into it, but this just wasn't what the fans, coming from a fan, this isn't what the fans wanted to see. This film was really bad. It was really bad, and I cannot believe I'm saying this about an Insidious film, but it just didn't deliver. It didn't shock, it didn't surprise, it didn't twist, it didn't turn. It didn't do anything that an Insidious movie does and is known for. It was like I was watching a completely different film, away from Insidious, away from anything James Wan related, and it just wasn't horror. It wasn't a horror film. It was a film where we were following characters around, and there was jump scares every 2 minutes that sometimes were effective and sometimes weren't. And you can't just rely on that with a film. Obviously, as you guys will know, Patrick Wilson, this was his first time directing. And if I'm quite honest, I didn't like the way it was directed. I don't think this was the best maybe Patrick could do. I thought he had a lot more in him. Personally, I think because Insidious 1 and 2 obviously we're going back in time and we're with the same family, with the same characters and story, I genuinely think that James Wan should have stayed in the position of director for this film as well, because it's like you're in the middle of a story and then somebody just takes over. And I know that happens with a lot of films and series and franchises, and that just happens because they want new perspectives, they want new ideas to be spun on, which I completely get. But James Wan is the mastermind behind this incredible amazing Insidious movie, that he should have continued it, and maybe they made another one after this that Patrick could then dive into. But this, I think that the Patrick Wilson had too much on his back. He should have focused on him as a character, developing his character as an actor, and should have left the directing to James Wan or even Lee Whannell if they wanted to. It felt off coming from someone who's not been creatively, directorially or anything like that involved with the actual story and how it looks and how things are going to happen and etc. There was so much wrong with this movie that it was very apparent that they messed up with who's directing this movie. So that's my first thing. Maybe people will disagree, but James Wan, I don't know what you're doing. You're just on the back burner. And I know he's got a new production company, and I know he's producing a lot of films that are coming up soon, continuing his Conjuring franchise, etc. But he's only doing producing from what I can see, and we really need him to come back and do his directing and show us what a good Insidious movie is, because, yeah, so disappointed. So let me just get into more of the kind of nitty-gritty, smaller details as to why I thought this was a genuinely bad movie. So the first issue that I had with this movie is there's no substance. There is no substance whatsoever to this story. We are just focusing on the falling down relationship between Josh and Dalton. We've missed 10 years of their life. Renee and Josh are divorced. Dalton and Josh don't really get on as father and son, and this film is essentially about the rekindling of a father and son relationship, which I can understand how what's happened has affected them in that sense, but it was just very annoying to me, because there was like this big change in the family dynamic with the divorce and the, you know, kids not getting on with the dad, and it's like, we missed this whole chunk of story. This has just happened. We've just walked into Insidious 5 and this has all just happened. In my opinion, we should have seen some kind of conflict between the son and the dad in this film in order to overcome their difficulties by the end. I think when we just approach a film and all this stuff has changed and we've not seen it, we've just heard it, it can be quite jarring and just a bit dead and like flatlined, because you're like, I want to know more. Like I wanted to see how this family had broken down. I would have preferred a family drama of how this family had broken down because of what's happened in the past than just walking straight into a film and everyone just hates Josh. It's like, what the hell is going on? And obviously we open up the film and Josh's mum has died as well, which is like completely out of the blue and random, which was kind of a shame. I thought she was a good character in this series, you know. And then obviously we continue on and Dalton's older and he's going to college and he's like a drawer and he does art. I think that's a fun aspect. We have some cool illustrations in there that are really well done, and I think are done pretty good, you know. I think seeing Dalton as an adult is very weird. I think maybe because he's older, we also kind of don't have the same horrifying effect of the originals when they're kids, because there's sort of less at stake when they're adults, because you're just like, okay, they're an adult now, like, who cares? So I don't know if that maybe had some kind of effect with like how horrifying this was going to be, but I mean, bringing me to that point, this film wasn't scary in any way. This film didn't have the Insidious feeling that the first and the second one and the third one and the fourth one all have. The Insidious movies have this kind of atmosphere, have this kind of vibe that's just really off-putting, and it's just creepy in its own way. Like, you're just looking at a room and it's a weird vibe. With this movie, it didn't have the same Insidious type of color grading and effects and visuals and just atmospheric effects as the other ones have had in the past, which is why I keep saying, like, this doesn't feel like an Insidious movie, because it's so far from that. It was just very dark scenes, it was very easy jump scares, and it was very, like, dramatic. It felt very off. Dialogue was really weird and placed in weird areas. They were trying to bring, like, a comedic aspect into it with our new character Chris, which is Dalton's roommate at college. And like Insidious movies, they have a little bit of fun campiness to them, a little bit, but it felt like they were trying to make this super mainstream. Like, this felt like another mainstream horror film, like for the kids, like Ouija, or, you know what I mean, like Slender Man. It just felt like a very like teeny bopper fun horror film, and it's like, that's not what this franchise is or ever was. Like, the original is so classic, it's so scary, it's just so brilliant in its own way, and it didn't seem right. It just felt really weird, and it felt like very drawn out and very long, and nothing was really happening. We didn't go to the further until like the last like 10 minutes of the movie, and we see obviously the lipstick faced demon, who is like the star of the first one and everyone loves. We see him for about 2 seconds, um and like Dalton's exploring the further, and his memories are coming back as are Josh's, but they're not in the same space. So it's like happening in different rooms, separate times, and it's just really weird. It's so this. I guess that's all I would say. This film it was just so weird, weirdly paced, weirdly written, weirdly made. I don't quite understand what I watched, but it like I said, it wasn't Insidious in my opinion. This was like a spin-off or something, because it wasn't the same as the others. Don't get me wrong, it was nice to see all the family again, recurring characters. I was upset that Elise was barely in it. We see like a glimpse of Carl, which, why wasn't Carl in it to help these guys, like, defeat the demon? I think it's really silly at the end when Josh goes into the further to go and find Dalton, and Renee's like, I know what to do. And she like sits down and she has the freaking tiki thing going, I forget the name of it. And she's like, yeah, go to sleep, go and travel, go get your son back. And I'm like, so we're now professional paranormal investigators, I guess? Or like, what's going on here? Like, why did we not bring back the people to help us? That's what the fans want. That you were bringing the entire Lambert family back. Why the hell did you not have a storyline for Elise? Did you not have a bigger storyline for Carl? And bring back these recurring characters? Or like give flashbacks or this or that? Something that I've heard a lot of people say too is this film is highly relies on flashbacks to the previous two movies. And can I just say, what binge watching all the Insidiouses before this one, complete waste of time. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it, but you don't need to do that to watch this movie. It did it for you. A lot of the film was made up of old footage or stuff that had already happened. And you don't need to go back. You can just go into this film, and you don't even need to watch the freaking film. You'll just get a recap anyway. Like I said, it was such an odd movie. It was really disappointing. I really wanted to see us explore the further more. And the trailer trailers really like to mislead you, and this trailer really made you think like, oh, we're going to be in the further for so much longer, and like Josh and Dalton are going to have to go in together. Like, I think it would have been way better of a story if Dalton wasn't in college and you had Josh and Dalton like experiencing these issues and then have to go in together. They bump into Elise, they bump into the demon, and they have to solve something. They have to, a mystery, or they have to try and get rid of this demon. They have to try and kill the demon. I don't know. I just wish they had a better plot for in the further. We spent so much time in the real world that it just completely took away from the excitement of the further, and the dead and the demons and the stuff coming back. It felt like they were just trying to rewrite the original in a way, because we know that obviously Dalton starts traveling, Josh's memories have been suppressed, so he doesn't know what traveling is, and then obviously he gets reminded. And in this one, it's like we're just to-ing and fro-ing from remembering the further and then forgetting it, and it's like it's just stupid. And then it's like, as well, like we finish the film and it's all like happy families and oh great, like this is all good. We see Elise at the end, which is really weird and random, like really weird cameo for her. She should have been in the further when they were in there. It just wasn't a very well put together movie, and there wasn't really a clear 3-act structure. Josh finds out his father was a traveller as well, which is like, okay, great plot point, we study it for 2 minutes, and then ends up fighting off the demons somehow, and then they're all good again, and then the Dalton and Josh rekindle the relationship. This film just made no sense. We don't know, all this stuff has happened within this family, and we're just jumping in the middle of it. How are we meant to care about these characters 10 years later when we don't know what's happened in the past? What did the divorce look like? What did What did the fight, why did Patrick Wilson and Ty Simpkins, why did they fall out? Why, since they had the memory suppressed, have they always had this awful relationship since he was a kid? Like, what has brought all this on? When you bring back an original cast, you need to have questions answered. And the fact that I still have 300 questions about this friggin' franchise is like a bit of a joke, because it should have been explained, it should have been explored. This film felt like a very much like a money grab, something for people to go and watch because they know they'll go and watch it. And like I said, it had so many issues that I was just so upset with, and this is the weakest film of the franchise, and I cannot believe it. I'm really, really upset to see it. Like, you know, I think the film's okay. I don't think it was the worst thing I've seen in my life, but I think I had very high expectations, and I know a lot of other people did, and it just hasn't lived up to it at all. I've rated Insidious 5 a awful 4.5 out of 10 because, like I said, it's the weakest of them all. It is the weakest of them all. If you want to check out my other reviews of the other Insidious films, go check out my IMDb. It's linked in my YouTube bio. But yeah, that is my thoughts of Insidious 5. I can't get over how bad it was. You know, I may revisit it in the future, but to me, it's not classed as the Insidious franchise anymore. This is like a spin-off, in my opinion. Like, it doesn't deserve to be third, to run third in this franchise. It really doesn't. And I think the films have just got weaker and weaker as they've been made. So I really hope they don't come back to Insidious after seeing this. Maybe unless James Wan is creatively involved, I don't know. But yeah, really disappointed, guys. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments after you watched it. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Did you love it? If you loved it, please explain to me why it was good, because I just wanted my classic horrifying, disturbing Insidious movie, and we didn't get much of that. So we just got some family drama and some jump scares, which we can see any day, you know what I mean? So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'm sorry this was a bit of a bum out of a video. We'll try and get some good horror in. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys, and I will see you on my next review.